Hey everyone, thank you for tuning in to another episode of The Balance. I want to once again thank you for tuning in week after week. And I want to thank those of you who retweet my posts and tell your friends about the show. And I just ask that more of you do it to again just help me live my dream and just help spread the word about a show that I think is really positive and really informative and sometimes funny, if I say so myself. So we're going to go ahead and kind of jump into our regular type of show with celebrity and entertainment news. So we're going to start off with Gladys Knight. And, I really didn't want to say anything. I did have a lot of respect for Gladys Knight because she was involved in the civil rights movement. She's an iconic singer and legend in that right. And I was disappointed by the original news that she was going to perform the national anthem at the Super Bowl. But I was willing to stay a little silent about that. But then she released a statement, and sometimes it's just like, shh, just keep your mouth closed, baby. Like when you open your mouth, sometimes like some things you just don't need to say. If you have nothing good or nice to say, don't say anything at all, and that applies here. So her statement was that, I understand Mr. Kaepernick is protesting two things, and they are police violence and injustice. And it's unfortunate that our national anthem has been dragged into this debate when the distinctive sense of the national anthem and fighting for justice should each stand alone. I am here today and on Sunday, February 3rd, to give the anthem back its voice, to stand for the historic choice of words, the way it united us when we hear it, and to free it from the same prejudice and struggles I have fought long and hard for all of my life. From walking back hallways, from marching with our social leaders, from using my voice for good, I've been at the forefront of the battle longer than most of those voicing their opinions to win the right to sing this song. And she goes on to say more, but that's all that needs to be said. And that's a little shady. She's like, well, I've been around the block. I've been doing things and, longer than you activists have. Okay. And that just kind of, my thing about adults in the sense that, I do believe respect should be given, but it's also something that should be earned. And I also feel like age doesn't necessarily mean that you're superior. Age is experience. It's about wisdom. And that doesn't necessarily always come with age. Look at this orange menace that is in the office. Like, he's old, but that doesn't put him on any type of pedestal. It doesn't mean that he knows better and he can do better, that he's any type of wise or anything like that. So I respect her history and what she's done, but I don't appreciate the shady remarks to the ones who have very valid criticism of her choice. And, I just want to point out some things from what she said. The first is that separating the national anthem and the protest for injustice. The national anthem, quote unquote, is about freedom and liberty and, celebrating our country. How can we do that when people are being murdered and people are by police officers and they're getting away with it, or they're getting really short sentences, which I'll get into later? How there is no freedom, there is no liberty for marginalized people. We're being attacked in every single way, from police brutality to immigration to, black women and their health not being taken seriously. We're attacked in so many different ways. Where is that freedom? So yes, they are actually intertwined, because what Kaepernick is saying is that America's not living up to, quote unquote, what the national anthem represents. And he's challenging that to challenge America to step up to the plate, to live where they're supposed to be what they claim to be. So no, they're not two distinct things, Miss Knight. And I want to let you know that. And a second thing, which really gets me, when she wants to claim this higher, sense of knowledge and everything, when she talks about the historic choice of words of the national anthem. Okay, let's talk about that, Miss Knight. Let's talk about how the national anthem actually has parts about slavery and racism in it. If you want to talk about historic choice of words, those are historic choice of words that come about this national anthem that you're so proud to sing. It is not, it's a whole, a uniting anthem. And so it's just like, there's so many different things I could say, but I want to keep it chill out of the respect that I have for her for what she's done in the past. But she's on my list. To me, Gladys Knight is canceled. And it goes back to, I guess she might need some money. people were saying she was possibly on the show The Masked Singer, like maybe she needs some funds, what have you. But at the end of the day, it goes back to what I say almost every episode. You have to stand by your principles and your morals. If you were working these back hallways and if you were marching with these social leaders, then you would understand, or you should understand really, why people are saying do not support this national anthem, do not perform at industry, the NFL, that has told us that they don't give two craps about our lives and our opinions. You can't let the inmates speak. You can't let the inmates have a voice, those type of things. So, her little snark, it's uncalled for, and she really needs to check and look at herself, and it's like, look at what happened to Chrisette Michele when she performed at the inauguration. It's the same type of thing. Trump land and what Trump represents is heavily embedded in the structure of the NFL, in the owners. Owners. So those types of things. So I'm just going to hop off of that before I say some more things about Miss Knight. So to kind of take a little break from that bit, we're going to move on to Ariana Grande, and I like her. I think she's very talented. She has amazing vocals. She needs to, enunciate her words a little better, but I think she's extremely talented. But I will say that I get people wanting a new sound and wanting to experiment with their music, and they have the right to do so. But her new song, Seven Rings, as many people point out on social media, it rips off Soulja Boy's, I think it's Pretty Boy Swag, and if you speed it up. And not only that, and I get that she has, black writers on her team, they're writing her songs. So that's where that feeling that, that's where it's coming from. But at the same time, it's down to the visuals, because her visual for the Seven Rings video ripped off 2 Chainz and, the pink trap house that he had in Atlanta that was so for the culture. And so, yes, she's borderlining cultural appropriation. I love her. I thought Sweetener was cool. Thank You Next is cute. I loved, Sweetener and God is a Woman is my song. But she's starting to cross that line of cultural appropriation. And I saw was she trying to do her own version of a little twerk in the video, what have you. I just saw clips. But it's reminding me so much of Miley Cyrus and her, Bangers era, when she was appropriating black culture and twerking all these different things. I feel like Ariana is getting dangerously close to that edge. So hopefully someone can pull her back, someone can school her, and hopefully she doesn't make any statements that are messed up and problematic so that I can't listen to her music anymore, because I practice what I preach. Again, I believe in standing for my morals and my principles, and if people do things that are counter to those, can't rock with them. So anyway, moving a little bit forward, so Sony parted ways with R. Kelly, and they had to. After that docuseries, you cannot still have him on your label. You can't still be associated with that type of person. And I'm grateful in the sense that they stood up for survivors, but I'm also grateful that R. Kelly has a really dumb lawyer. And I kind of want to point out a statement that his lawyer said, and then I'll go to a point that I want to make later, that words matter. But yeah, I was reading an article, I think it was on MSN, and his lawyer, of course, was talking about the docuseries and all these different things. And he made a couple of statements that I found kind of sketchy. And so give me just a second and I will pull that up. So yeah, he said, we deal with proof. Okay. And where's the proof is what his lawyer said on Nighttime. None of this is criminal. The state attorneys on TV asking for people to come out of the woodwork and do what? Complain that R. Kelly mistreated them a little bit here and there, or that he talked to them improperly. And that was just so sketch to me. So you're saying that it happened. To me, words matter. So you're saying, he's asking for people to come out and say that he, talked to them improperly or mistreated them a little bit here and there. Do you not see the problematic nature of that statement? Do you not see that you're saying that your client is trash? And what is your definition of mistreated them a little bit here and there? Does that include domestic violence? Does that include emotional abuse? Does that include sexual abuse? So his lawyer is not helping the case either. And then he said he didn't do anything wrong. There are no underage victims. There are no sexual assault victims. There are no victims of domestic violence that they're going to find. What do you mean that they're going to find? I thought that was an interesting choice of words. And lawyers, they're trained to dissect and be very careful about their word choice. When you're reading contracts, it's all about words, and what you say really matters. And so when he says there's no domestic violence victims that you're going to find, is that necessarily because they don't exist? Or is that necessarily because R. Kelly has done something to where you won't find them, whether it's nefarious things that happen to them or if it's, they've been silenced, via payoffs or they're hidden somewhere, just different things. It's just word choice. Once again, it matters and it means something. So I'm glad that he has a dumb lawyer, and I'm hoping that his day of reckoning is finally here as he deserves. So you can't talk about R. Kelly right now without talking about Erykah Badu. So at her concert last night, she was defending and expressing love for her brother R. Kelly. I see a lot of valid outrage on Twitter, but that's something that she already deserved a long time ago. Erykah Badu has been canceled in my book, and I'll tell you why. She tweeted not even a long time ago, but a couple of months ago, about things like she had empathy and she can find empathy with Hitler and Bill Cosby because she sees good in everybody. Or how, young girls should lower their skirts and try to play like girls are responsible, how grown men look at them and behave towards them. And again, words matter. When she's saying, but do I think it's unnatural for a heterosexual male to be attracted to a young woman in a revealing skirt? No, I think it's in his nature. Or telling the girls that they should lower their skirts. When you're putting that kind of victim blaming out there, when you're putting that sort of language out there, that's what we mean by rape culture. You're putting these things out there to justify these acts. And then it helps perpetuate it further. It helps keep the machine going. So when she's out here saying things like this, again, it helps keep the sexual abuse going from people like R. Kelly. It helps keep rape going, or little girls, being judged by what they wear by teachers, or it keeps the sexual abuse going within families. It's a lot of these different things. Like, word choice matters. Your words help perpetuate things. Just like Donald Trump, his words help perpetuate the violence and the antics of his supporters. Words matter, and I cannot express that enough. So yeah, I've been done with Erykah Badu, and I hope that y'all finally are seeing the light. And so, kind of going to what I was saying about Trump. So it was in the news that his supporters, some Make America Great Again people who were teenagers, they basically ambushed a tribal indigenous leader who was speaking. He's a veteran as well, who was speaking at Friday's first Indigenous Peoples March. And, the hateful nature, again, it's his words. He helped people feel emboldened to take action and to do what they're doing now. And as people have said on Twitter, that red hat that Kanye is so proud to wear because it thinks it means he's a free thinker. No, it doesn't mean you're a free thinker. It's a symbol of hate. It is no different than the swastika. It is no different than the Confederate flag. Again, racism, it does not go away. It evolves. It evolves with the times. It becomes more covert in some ways, but it finds shifting ways to manifest. And so, no, it's not a flag. No, it's not a swastika, but it's the same type of thing. It's evolved into a hat. It's manifested in this way as a hat. And again, the word choice emboldened people. And I'm so sorry that, Native Americans are being harassed by people with such hate. Like, Native Americans, in a sense, they got the original conquerors. I'm not going to call them settlers, but the original conquerors and slaughterers, they were able to do so because the Native Americans were such nice people. Their niceness, their kindness. I was reading first class that, Columbus recognized that. He never actually called them savages. That came later. He recognized that they were such nice and kind people and that they could use that and annihilate them. That was pretty much his own words. And so, they've gone through so much between the whole genocide of their country, and they're still being attacked, and they're trying to have their first Indigenous Day, celebrate themselves and their land. This is their land. And here you have hate-filled people coming and harassing them who they aren't natives. Your people are immigrants and they came here. And you're so against immigration, but all of you wouldn't have been here in the first place without it. But I'm going to hop off of that. And, my heart goes out to the indigenous community. And that's just what I can say on that. So I wanted to kind of move on to some positive notes. for a little bit, and then we'll kind of jump into something else at the end. But it's Sunday, and as you all know, I'm a big proponent of self-care, especially on Sunday, Sabbath day. I feel like it's the perfect day for self-care. And so I was reading an article on Huffington Post, and it was about 14 toxic thoughts that you should let go of. And I read through all of them, and I thought they were really great, so I wanted to share them on the show. So we'll start with the first one. The first one is, I'll do it later. And there was a little bit of discussion on social media in the sense that when you don't have that discipline, when you're procrastinating and stuff, and you're not showing that sort of discipline, that's a reflection of your self-love, because discipline, self-discipline is intertwined with it. So let's try this year, 2019, to stop pushing things off. If it can be done now, do it, unless it's sacrificing some part of you. If your body's really tired and you're really weak and you're not focusing, or if you're having a headache, or you're having a really bad day emotionally, then it's understandable if you say you'll do it later. But if you're fine, do it now. Let's have that form of discipline. Let's have that form of self-love. Another one they mentioned was catastrophic thinking. So, thinking if one thing goes wrong, then everything else will. And so my advice kind of just related to that is to take everything as a singular event. And it might also be helpful if you just rationally think about, okay, what's the best thing that can happen in this situation? I can get a yes, or I can get an A, or what's the worst thing that can happen? I can get one no on this job, or I can get one bad grade, but there's other chances to get a better grade. There's other chances and opportunities for you job-wise, career-wise. So let's, try our best to minimize, if not wholly eliminate, catastrophic thinking. And then there's another one that I really love, and it's the idea of I'm inadequate. And so there's a little acronym for it, and it's called YAS. So the Y stands for why. Why you? Remember that you add value. The A is you're allowed to fail. Give yourself permission to fail. You fall, but you get back up. The first S is see success. Breathe and reframe your mindset. The second S is surge forward. Take a leap of faith, because if you don't ask, you don't get. So I thought that was really dope, so I had to share it. The fourth is stop thinking that self-care is selfish. It's not. It's necessary, period. 5, their life is so much better than mine. Again, social media, you usually only see the ups. People don't let you in on every down that they experience. They don't let you in on every major heartache or struggle. So again, you have to take it, you can't take it at a deeper level. It's just surface stuff. And it's just important to remember that. Number 6, I found, which is really good, and it's something that I'm working on in therapy, is the sense that stop thinking, oh, I'll be happy when. Tying your happiness to the future is dangerous. So think about what you envision will be different in the future, and then try to cultivate some of that in the now. The next one is I shouldn't feel this way. Okay, it's important to realize that unless whatever you're thinking or believing is hurtful to or endangers others, that your feelings are valid. You can be grateful for what you have, and you can still validly be depressed or unhappy. It doesn't mean that you're not grateful for your basic needs or what have you. Remember, your feelings are always valid. Unless, again, as I said, that they're used to demean or hurt or endanger yourself or others. Number 8, this kind of thing always happens to me. But does it though? Like, does it really always happen to you? Think positive, And then number 9, I wish I looked like him or her. Again, everybody is beautiful to somebody, and it sounds cliche, but it's true. Everybody's beautiful to somebody, and that's saying somebody could be ugly to somebody else. Again, like, have that self-love. Don't worry about what other people look like. Find what makes you happy. Like, think about what is the ideal body type for you and live that. Don't base it upon standards, whether it's Eurocentric beauty standards or even standards in the Black community where about, we want big butts and slim waists and flat stomachs. Like, find your happy body and live that, So number 10, I should have. So they said that toxic type of thinking, it eats away at your self-confidence. So stop with the I should haves. Number 11, I'm such an idiot. Okay, no self-deprecation. No, we ain't doing it this year. Number 12, I'll try. And this is another one that we are majorly working on in therapy. So when you say I'll try, it gives a safety net and it doesn't communicate, full commitment to ourselves. So instead of saying I'll try, say I will or I can, and start eliminating the ifs and, speak positively, speak it into existence type of thing. And then number 13, if it's not perfect, it's not worth doing. And the last one is stop saying I don't know how. Focus on what you do know and just learn the rest as you go. Okay, simple enough, right? Yeah. No. So anyway, hope that was a little positive segment because we're about to jump in some more stuff. So we're going to kind of touch on Black issues right now. And so in 2014, a teenager by the name of Laquan McDonald was shot 6 times and killed by police. So the recent sentencing happened and the cop was sentenced to 6 years in prison, but he could be released in 3 years for good behavior. And the prosecutors in the case sought 18 years. Okay. I get when you're a prosecutor that you have to be realistic about what charges you might be able to achieve, but even the 18 years they sought doesn't amount for the life of a Black person being taken away. He was shot 16 times. That is why. There's not necessary, and I know a lot of them were in the back. That's not necessary to shoot someone 16 times. Again, and I've spoken to it before and I'll say it again. When I took my criminal justice class and the professor was a former cop, he spoke about the levels, and lethal force, again, is supposed to be the last option, but that seems to not be the goal here anymore. If you are scared for your life, or if you're worried about them doing something, you can shoot them in the leg, you can shoot them in the arm. There's plenty of other places that you can shoot them and not kill them. You can de-arm them that way. You can demobilize them in that way. You do not have to kill them. But again, we all know that fear for my life stuff, we know it's a bunch of crap anyway. So, and the fact that he only got 6 years when he was charged with second-degree murder and 16 counts of battery for each shot is not surprising in the least. It's sad. And the fact that he can get out in 3 years for good behavior, there shouldn't be an option when you take a life and you slaughter a human being for no reason in such a dehumanizing and disgusting way. There should be no option for good behavior. There shouldn't be just a 6-year sentence. That there needs to be reform in that way, that there needs to be stricter penalties against cops. You need to give them that accountability. But it's also sad in the sense that I'm even grateful for just this, because we often don't even get an indictment. Talking about a conviction, talking about actual sentencing, we don't get that often in police brutality cases. And it just speaks to the sad state. And so, again, stuff like this is what gets me super mad at Gladys Knight and her inaccurate word choice and her snarky comments and her decision that is extremely disappointing to do the national anthem. Like, come on, sis. Like, really? But whatever. My thoughts and prayers are with the family, and I know it's not the justice that they want, and it's definitely not the justice that they deserve. But my only hope is that they find peace, that at least something is happening. At least they got a conviction. At least he's going to be sentenced. At least he's going to suffer in some way, because there's so many families of police brutality that didn't get that. Mike Brown laid out on the street for hours, just like he was so dehumanized, and I can never get over that, and I know his mother can never get over that, and there is no justice. The cop is free, living his life, while Mike Brown is 6 feet under, and there's no justice in that. There's no uniting in that fact, Gladys. There is no separating a country is supposed to be about freedom and greatness and all this. No. And this stupid anthem. No. Just no. And so in the last bit of news for today, just to kind of, wrap up this kind of depressing talk, but it's real talk. A daycare worker was pulling and yanking a 3-year-old Black girl's hair. And every time the Black girl would try to get up, she just constantly yanked again and again and again. And the person filming it was laughing in the background. And before you ask, yes. In terms of what race the teacher was, yes. We all know what race. And for me, I'm not sending my kids to daycare. There's so many different things between the racism that's levied at young kids, especially young Black kids or young marginalized racially kids in daycare, just besides the neglect that goes on. Like, no, that's what family's for. If able, that's where I'm going to send my kids. But, that couldn't be me. You're young. If I ever saw a video where my kid was being abused or neglected in a daycare and people are laughing about it and no. There would be no more of the Balance podcast because Kristen would be in jail, okay? Like, because somebody's gonna pay. I'm taking everybody down in there. Everybody. Like, it's just disgusting. And I'm just so sick of the inhumane treatment. And it's like this little girl, like, and she's not seen as a little girl. Her skin tone doesn't afford her the same vulnerability and innocence and childlike life that it does, white peers. Because I'm just going to wrap that up because I cannot keep going into that. And it's too much. Again, when it comes to being aware of the social injustices in the news, it's important sometimes to step away for the sake of your mental health. So anyway, to wrap this show up on a positive note, we're going to go back again to my classic, throwback songs of the day. And so for me, we're going to do Donk by Soulja Boy since he was, in the news lately. And he made some valid points, just saying. But the next song is going to be Saturday Love by Sherelle. And then the last song is going to be Not Anymore by LaToya from Destiny's Child. So yeah, thank you for tuning in for another episode. I hope that if you haven't caught up on the past ones, that you do it, that you help me retweet and get your friends to subscribe to the show. Just help me spread the word because my goal for this podcast is, of course, to let my voice be heard and live my dream, but it's also to be of service, to help others, to inform, to educate. And I feel like that's so needed in our society. And I feel like I'm doing something different and something that is needed. So just help me be of service. Help me do what I can for this world. So thank you for listening. Bye.